respect their input and value their efforts. I have seen community plans overruled time and time again to the point where things are being done by the committee behind the committee chair's back. You can't run a committee when someone else outside the group overrides the group's decisions. So now the committees have disappeared and most decisions are made by the board. We all own this community, and we should all have a hand in running it. As your president, when faced with a non-emergency situation, I will be sure that we get community input. It may take a little bit longer to get things passed, but it's the right thing to do in a democratic, resident-owned community. The million-dollar question these days seems to be, is she capable of running a multi-million-dollar corporation? The simple answer to that is that no one can run such an enterprise on their own. Throughout the years, we have had the help of ROC, CDI, banks, and management company, the town of Carver, the CVRA board, the committees, and every resident in this community. It should never be run by one person who makes all the decisions and bears all the responsibility, no matter how good that person is with managing projects. I have the experience and the people skills to bring this community back together again. After many years in retail and running my own landscape company, I know how to treat people to bring out the best in them. I know how to delegate instead of control. I know how to make people feel valued and not intimidated. And I know how to work hard right alongside them. We need to be social again. We need to get back to having holiday parties, cookouts, classes, craft, and art shows. Helping Hands had a Rod Stewart lookalike show in the pavilion, and it was hilarious. Yes, COVID was partly responsible for these activities being stopped, but it wasn't the only reason. We need to create new committees to plan these activities and help with the running of our community. I want people to be proud of what they've accomplished here. I want them to drive through the community and see improvements and be able to say, hey, I had a hand in that. And then we can throw a party to honor all the volunteers. I can't do this alone. We need to do it together. And to quote the ROC management guide, a leader is a person who can mobilize others to accomplish shared goals. Effective leaders encourage and support members to work together to achieve a common goal or vision. They are not necessarily the people with the most education or the most experience. Rather, they have learned how to work with others to get things done. I have worked with a lot of people over many years and have always gotten a lot done. I have left people feeling respected and valued, and that's what I intend to do as your president. To make this our community again, I'm asking for your vote. Please feel free to call me at 508-521-4921. Thank you.
Linda, you want to go next?
So there'll be questions after the whole thing?
Yes.
Okay. Your name's Linda Jacobs. My name's Linda Jacobs, and I'm running for large. And it's nice to see. It's nice to see all of you here tonight. I just want to let you know that my contact information, phone number, and email address is on my brochure, which is in the back by the elevator. I think Amy's is too, and so is the insurance. So we're here tonight to decide which direction we want to take our community. To continue with the board of directors that discourages participation, ridicules, and threatens the membership, or to begin a new era of community involvement and respect. I choose to go in that direction. My primary reason for running for director at large is to foster an open-minded and welcoming atmosphere at the board meetings, an atmosphere that encourages residents to present ideas, ask questions, and resolve difficulties. A place where members can speak without interruption or ridicule. As director at large, I'd like to help accomplish the following. Establish a monthly newsletter in print and online. Develop an election policy. Establish a Facebook page that belongs to the association and that will keep going no matter what board we have. And that the rules for that page will be voted on by the community. Set up a special hour, a social hour, either an hour before each monthly board meeting or twice a month, Saturday mornings, where members can come and talk about issues of the community with each other and also with the board of directors. I was born with an allergy to injustice, and I'll tell you a story. When I was in the 7th grade, I had a friend who was a skinny little girl. I don't remember her name, and I don't remember how we met. And I think our friendship was brief. She was regularly picked on by a class bully, whose name was Jody. And one day, Jody challenged my friend and me to a fight after school. Now, I was a middle-class kid. Well, fist fights were not in my family experience. Nobody had them. We didn't talk about them. But I wanted to defend my friend, and so we both agreed to this fight. So after school, we showed up, and there was a ring of girls that I had never seen. I didn't know them, and they were all standing around waiting eagerly for a fight. And Jody was there, and she had a friend with her, and I still remember what this friend looked like, and what she was wearing. And she seemed friendly. We smiled at each other. And so Jody wanted me to fight that friend, and I said, no, I don't even know her. I don't have anything against her. And I want to fight you because you've been picking on my friend. And she wouldn't agree to it. We went back and forth, and finally I just said, this is ridiculous. I'm not going to fight somebody I don't even know. So we left. And of course everybody laughed at us when we left. And I just didn't get it. So I walked my friend home, and she lived in a trailer park, which I'd never seen before. And she said her mom didn't want her to bring friends home. And I guessed at the time that she must be ashamed of being poor, and I felt really sad. So I stood up for people who've been bullied ever since. I've been to only 4 board meetings here, and at each one, I've called on a board member to let a resident finish their sentence, to not laugh at somebody who's speaking. Our board of directors bullies people if they don't agree with them. And the members here are tired of this. And we have heard from person after person as we canvass this park that this is the case. Bullying is the reason there are no committees. Bullying is the reason that attendance at the board meetings is so low. People in the park told Amy and me this as we canvassed. The membership wants an environment where they no longer fear evictions for violating this or that so-called policy, where favoritism is a rule of law. I want to take steps towards building a peaceful and engaged community. I will serve with enthusiasm and an open mind, and I ask for your vote. Contact information on the brochures at the back. Thank you.
Hi everybody, I'm Mary Bowes and I'm the current secretary on the board. I've been on the board for 4 years now. I think a lot of people know me. Just brief background if you didn't know, I actually come from a work environment of critical care nursing, but it always involves a lot more tasks than just that. I developed policy, I did a lot of in-service education, things like that. I also happened to have owned 3 condos before I came here. So I was used to community living and all the inherent pros and cons that come with it. I served on the boards at all 3 condos as well. So I kind of knew what I was getting into when I decided to run 4 years ago. I personally, well, I shouldn't veer off. My goals for this community is really to continue in the direction that we've been going. If you think, where we were several years ago to where we are now, we're financially stable. Most major projects have been done. The last one will be the wells come July 1st. I'm very proud of being a member of this board. I don't agree with what's been said, but we can always get into that later. What else? I always try and accommodate residents. Brenda gets a ton of phone calls. I also get a lot of phone calls from residents for a whole variety of different reasons. And, I feel maybe people don't always agree with me, but I feel as though I'm always trying to accommodate them and be helpful. in whatever they might need, whether it's just answering a question or need letters, whatever the issue may be. I'm not sure, I think that's it. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for coming. My name is Brenda. I am the current president of the Board of Directors for CDRA. I've held this position for my 6 years. And I want to continue running for the people and doing what we've been doing as a community, as a board of directors, for the last 6 years, which is moving the community forward. We've made great strides as a community. I think we as a board have always given thanks and praise to the residents. We haven't done this alone. We wouldn't have been able to do any of this without all of the residents. Your support has gotten us to where we are today. There's still some things in the community. I have a passion for this community. I moved here 6 years ago. I had a financial investment like everybody else in this community. And I know the rules are hard, but everybody coming into a community when you're coming from your own personal single home is tough. I assume, everybody read through the rules and things. I did the same thing. I looked through the rules. There were some that, were important to me right off the bat. I looked for those rules. They were in the rules. They were something that was there. It was okay. And there were other rules that I didn't necessarily agree with, but I could live with. And I'm assuming everybody in here has done the same because we've all signed papers. So yes, and I don't agree, and the board doesn't agree with a lot of them, but sitting up here, you have the responsibility of keeping things going the same for everybody as best you can. If people don't like the rules, it's up to the residents and the membership to change the rules. If people don't like the bylaws, it's up to the residents to change those. It's always been that way. It's up to the board of directors, whichever board of directors, whether it's the current board, a new board, to enforce those rules equally, evenly, to everybody. When I first moved here, it wasn't like that. You had a board that only enforced rules with certain people. Their friends could do whatever they want, and if they didn't like you, then you got in trouble. That's the past. We need to keep moving forward. This community has almost doubled their home values. We went from not being able to barely get the money when we first bought the park, the appraisal, to being appraised at over $28 million. That's due to everybody. That's due to everybody trusting the people that have been in charge since we purchased this park. Each board has had its positives and its negatives. And moving forward is the way we should want to continue to go. People want to say how they feel that, this community should be run. Some people can't afford to mow their lawn, or they can't afford to do this, or they, don't have the ability to maintain their yard. We understand that. We see that every day. But sometimes you have to look at the big picture. If one person is allowed to not do something, you have 279 other people saying, how come they can and I can't? So it's more than just wishing on a star and hoping that, everything can be, sweet and rosy. And unfortunately, sometimes you have to make the tough choices. And you have to be the ones to take the heat. I'm very proud of this board of directors. I'm very proud of the work that we have done and that you've all allowed us to do. And I would like to continue to do that. There's still, some major stuff that has to happen, and you can't let certain things, go by the wayside. I think we've started a good program with, being out there and letting people, communicate what's going on. And I just feel, as a board, myself, I feel like, I want to continue. I think bringing this community forward is where we need to be. Putting in new houses, increasing our home value, being able to make this a community, make this a neighborhood. I want to get rid of I live in a trailer, or I live in a mobile home. We all have a home. We don't have to put another word in front of it. This is our neighborhood. This is our community. This doesn't have to be a park or mobile homes or manufacturing. Nobody else does that. When you all had a single home, you didn't say, oh, I have a single home. You had, this is my house, this was my home. That's how this community needs to be. It doesn't need to be stereotyped in a certain way. We need to make this a community. We need to make it a community where everybody can get involved that wants to get involved. And using anybody as an excuse for why people aren't doing it is just not fair in my book. People can come and do social gatherings as much and as often as they want to. Nobody has ever stopped them. And being told that, I don't think we've ever told anybody that you couldn't use the clubhouse and have a party, rent, go out to the pavilion and have a pizza night if that's what you want to do. It doesn't always have to be sponsored by a committee. Residents used to get together. Put it up on Facebook, make a few phone calls, come down on a Friday night, light the grill, throw on burgers for whoever wanted to show up. So, I think COVID stopped the way a lot of people gather. I think whether people want to admit it or not, people don't like to be always in enclosed, areas like this. They're more happy doing things outside than inside. So I would like to continue representing this community and all of you as the president of CVRA. So I ask for your vote and support. Thank you.
Okay, now we're gonna open it up to the floor for questions. You can ask the questions in general to all of them, or one individual. One question, one person at a time. And because we don't have any wireless mics tonight, I'm gonna ask you to come up to the microphone, please. So we're open to first question.
This isn't really a question. I'm sitting from 5 Jefferson away. Some of you know me from Facebook, on the Cranberry Village Facebook page. My goal moving in here is we are a community. We should act like a community in this separation. And that is, that's been the hardest thing for me, living here for 5 years, is a separation in between. I hope I can model through what I do on Facebook, and I know other people don't agree with what I do, but I hope that I can model for other people that we live as a community. We should all help each other, do things for each other, be warm to each other. Brenda, me and you have had an issue way back, and I still love you. You've done a good job. You've done a good job. You've done a great job, and I would never look at. But my vote would never be an emotional vote. It would always be on what that person is doing for our community. Are they doing a good job for our community? Amy, you and I were very close, I felt. But when you and Brenda had a falling out, you didn't talk to me anymore.
I didn't talk to anybody.
I know, but you know what? That stuff shouldn't happen. We shouldn't do that to each other. Because you had a problem with Brenda, why should you be angry at me? Why should you not talk to me? I don't know, maybe I'm just an emotional person, but I feel like no matter what people do, no matter what people feel, no matter how much emotion we have, we still should be good to each other. And that's all I have to say to our community, is be good to each other, be kind to each other, vote on not your emotion, vote on what's right and who's doing a good job, and that's what we should be looking at. So.
Lily Campbell. I've been here 35 years this month. Not that longevity gets you anywhere, but all I can say is I've seen it all. My husband was president here before he was in, and it was testy then. There were people that complained about things, and you had to deal with it, and you had to do it with a smile. But what I'm interested in as a resident here is solvency, keeping the rents down, making sure people make the place look nice so we retain value. Now, as far as bullying goes, we're not in high school. If you let anyone bully you, I blame you. It shouldn't happen. You should speak up. I don't know when this bullying is going on. I probably, am not involved with it. But we should be talking about, I remember where there were rotted trees and bumpy roads and things weren't getting cleaned. And we had terrible problems with our oil tanks and different things. And all of a sudden, things started to get done for the first time. If 35 years means anything to anyone, I have never seen this park look as good. I probably am not involved in Facebook and all that stuff, but as far as the solvency and the care of the park, I'm satisfied. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Gary LeBeau, current treasurer of CVRA and previous director of large finance committee, election committee, et cetera, et cetera. This question is for Amy and Linda. Recently on Facebook, which is Facebook, and sitting here tonight listening to the candidates talk, we've listened to them basically insult all the board members of CVRA and tell us that we haven't been doing a good job and tell us that we pick on people and we're bullies and things like that. So, and like I said on Facebook, this past week or whatever, when you pick on one board member here, you pick on all the board members. We work very closely together. So I guess my question is, if you're fortunate enough to win your election and get on, how do you expect the three remaining board members, myself, Ed, and Mike, to be able to sit there and work with you at the table when we've just been insulted leading up to the elections?
Well, I am happy to answer that question because I actually asked you that, Gary, on Facebook, because your participation on the advocates page was just needling. You had a lot of questions. You didn't have any solutions. And I asked you, how are you going to work with me when I show up for my first day at work? I never said that none of the board did a good job. The park is beautifully maintained. Everything is financially, fiscally, as far as I can tell, run really smoothly. Yes, the board does tend to bully people who don't agree with them as a body. That doesn't mean that you're bad people. It doesn't mean you haven't done a good job. It means that you're not sensitive to other people who are speaking to you. And then you react and fire at them. So, if you think I've insulted you and offended you, there's nothing I can do about that. I wasn't insulting. I was just saying that my experience of the board as a body is that the board insults people. How am I going to work with you? I'm going to try my best to be open and listen to you, to not argue with you, and to see if I can bridge the divide that's happened. Because I'm going to want to work with all of you And I'm gonna try and foster a two-way street. Just because I have said these things doesn't mean I'm shutting you out or I'm not gonna have anything to do with it. I don't work like that. And I would hope that you all don't have that attitude towards me. We're gonna have to get along, just like the rest of the community. Like Cindy said, I hope that my behavior on the board and as I go around in the community will model to other people how we can try and get along with each other. And I'm not gonna be perfect all the time, but I hope that I can model that behavior, trying to work together.
I agree with everything Linda just said. I don't think we have insulted. I think if you didn't think we were telling the truth, you wouldn't be so insulted. Okay? You have been the same way to us. I don't know how we're gonna work with you if I do happen to win the election because you've been so negative to us. I have always said, and you can ask anybody, the board has done a great job with managing the park. It's the people skills they need to work on. That's all. And I have the people skills. I may need help with the management part, but everybody does when they first start on the board. Nobody has the skills of being a president of a community like this. So you learn as you go, but you have to treat the people with dignity and respect. And I don't see that. Some people say they don't see the bullying. They haven't been a part of it. They haven't been disagreed with the board member and been bullied and laughed at. And so it's out there. Everybody we talk to, not everybody, a lot of the people we talk to around the park have so many horror stories about how they've been treated. It breaks my heart, and it needs to stop. I'm not insulting the entire board. I'm just saying the people skills are lacking.
Any other questions? Any comments from any of the committee candidates? Okay.
Mike Bose, 51 Piper's Way, I'm on the board currently. Gary asked you what you would do if you do get on the board. You're talking about bringing the community together, how important that is. What if you don't get on the board? Are you going to continue trying to bring the community together? What are you going to do after the election if you don't get on?
I will do everything that I've been doing. I was volunteered a lot. When I first moved in here, I volunteered a lot. I was on the gardening committee. I will continue to do that. I suffered. I was crushed. And I'm not gonna go into that detail, but it was a setback. I didn't want to talk to anybody. I'm back. I want to talk to people. I want this community to be friendly again. I want people to help each other. I want helping hands to come back in, because that's what they did. If you needed your lawn mowed because you broke your leg, they'd come up and help you mow your lawn. We need that type of community. And that's what I would like to foster, even if I don't get on board. If it's possible to work that way with this board.
If I can, I would, if I don't get on the board, I would like to go to board meetings and participate. But again, it's very difficult to participate while people are being laughed at and interrupted. So I probably, if I go, will probably continue to do what I have and ask that a person be able to finish a sentence and that the board not laugh at somebody. It's just, there's more to being, if we're on the board, there's more to being a board member than just sitting at a meeting. So I would be involved in things, projects and decisions and things. It wouldn't be just going to a meeting once a month and having to listen to people be disrespected. So I would, if I'm not on the board, I will try to go to board meetings and participate as long as people are respected. What can I say? And continue to know my neighbors and live a decent life. That's it.
Hi, my name's Lily Campbell, and I've been living here 35 years. It's pretty good. There you go. My name's Roger Merritt. I live at 12 Jefferson Way. I'm the guy with the garden. I bought my home right before we bought the park. I was involved with the preliminary board. The sister park that you may not know, some people are new here, there was another park, the owner owned both. We had months of meetings, all information getting crammed down our throats, this and that, training, you name it. And then we had elections, and then we've gone on from there. There've been many transitions without going through the whole history. And I'm gonna say something, it's been a shit show in the beginning. It really was horrible. Horrible. It was just, the first board did things for people, resigned, other people came on, that's when I happened to get on the board. After that first election, anybody on that first board was called a liar, don't listen to them. Why would somebody say that? Why would somebody discredit a whole board unless they had something to hide? For 4 years, other people were, nothing really, it's just my opinion, really got done in the big scheme of things. There's the engineer's report. Brenda came to town, kicked butt. She check. A lot of stuff has gotten done for years, nothing got done. We were going like this when Colleen was president. Values were going up, other people got in, value went down. Nothing was really getting done. She said the numbers. That's something to be proud of. You know, it's a thankless job. And somebody's complaining. You know, sometimes you get people on an off day. Other times, they even be warranted. You know, if you're treating somebody and then they give you the same medicine back and you don't like it, I'm sorry. But you know, why don't we just all, regardless of how this goes, take a breath, treat each other the way you want to be treated. Lighten up. We're at the top of the ladder. Some of us are going down the other side. I don't want to live with, just backstabbing and just regardless of how this goes. We're a community. We're neighbors. We're human beings. CBRA. In that order. Just, good luck to everybody. Good luck, ladies. And again, I'm Lily Campbell.
Hi, I'm Annie McLaughlin, and I'm a neighbor to Louie, to Roger. And I just wanted to ask you, Linda and Amy, a question about your backgrounds. And you talked a bit about yours, Amy, and the skills that you have pulling people together. I didn't know if you wanted to add anything to that. And Linda, I know your background, and I think it'd be really nice if you shared your experience at other parks and what you've done. And I think that would help us, have a better platform.
First of all, I love living in a park. I know people don't like to use that word, but I mean, to me, this is just it's a beautiful park with flowers and trees and, yeah, the park is great, good. I'm happy to say I live in a park. So I've been living in mobile homes for, I guess, 20 years. I lived in the Halifax mobile home estates for more years than I can actually, about maybe 10 or so years. And then I moved briefly to Oregon and lived in a modular home community there. Where that was privately owned, and we had a property management company that was brutal. They raised the rent every month. For every 2 years, the rent went up, and every month, every year, the maintenance went down. the things were literally falling apart. Street lamps were falling over and were duct taped together, and the plants were being killed that were in the park. A friend had rats, and they let it go for quite a while. It was not a good. It was beautiful when we moved in. It had been a nursery, so it was loaded with gorgeous trees. Had a swimming pool. But anyway, so I moved there, and I enjoyed the community, and I listened to a lot of my neighbors complain about all the things that were wrong. And I said, well, then let's get together and fix it and do something about it. Coming from Massachusetts, where we've had lots of tenants associations in our history, I spearheaded a tenants association there so that we could speak with a unified voice to the property management company and try and get changes. And so that went on for a year and a half, 2 years, and unfortunately, the property management company was, they wouldn't budge, and they were very threatening to the homeowners there, and people got afraid that they would lose their homes. And it fizzled. It was a shame. And I'm still in touch with some of the people, and the rents are exorbitant there. It's unfortunate. So that's my background. And before that too, I worked for quite a while as a substance abuse counselor, and which has nothing to do with what we're doing here, but it has a lot to do with people skills and helping people find compromise and be able to communicate with each other, conflict, de-escalating conflict, and working to resolve difficulties. I think I'm useful in that.
Is there anyone else?
Can I say something?
Sure.
Oh, all right. I'll go back to
Hi, my name is Maria Getty, and I live on Piper's Way, and I've been here 40 plus years. The park today does not look, and there is no comparison to what we had when I first moved in here. And it doesn't happen automatically. We depend on volunteers to do the work. And a lot of people do volunteer, and there are others that are unable to volunteer. And there's a third group that just apathetic, and they sit back and enjoy everything, and good luck to them. We have rules and regulations. Most everybody lives by the rules and regulations. There are some people that break the rules and regulations. And it's up to the board in the day-to-day operations to address any violations. And I think that when they get a complaint from another neighbor or something going on, it has to be addressed. And I believe that letters are sent out by the park manager, and the board may get involved in it. But when they're confronted with the allegations against them, they don't like that. So then they feel as though they're being bullied, when in fact it's just trying to point out that you're violating the rules and regulations. Now I can say, all the years I've lived here, I've never been bullied. I do volunteer. And I would like to ask Amy and Linda, more specifically Amy, because she's the president, and when the board discusses something, Amy will speak for the board. Amy, how would you address enforcing the rules and regulations of this park?
I absolutely agree with you that the rules and the bylaws need to be enforced. I don't agree with how they're not enforced fairly. There are some houses in here that are trash. There are some houses that are really, really nice. There are some people that are favorites, they've got their driveways done. There are some people that are not favorites, and didn't get their driveways done. It's true, I can show you. same thing with the trees. There are people that that still have trees. There's a huge dead tree behind somebody's house, and they were told, insurance will cover it. So there is. I know you don't believe me because you haven't been through it, but if you disagree, and you happen to state out loud that you disagree, you're done. You're bullied and laughed at and ridiculed, and now there's gossip going around. That doesn't need to be, none of this needs to happen. We all need to be friends. We're in the same park, we're all in the same boat. There is no reason for people to be mean to each other. None.
We are all adults, and we all should be able to get along with one another. Unfortunately, I was on the board of directors, and I know how things are done. And when you talk about the trees, some people have their trees done, others don't have them done. You do know it's not just the board of directors that decide what trees are coming down.
I'm sorry, but this is out of order. This is out of order. This is not a question and answer. You are having a dialogue and challenge.
I'm explaining to the people of what you were alleging as being bullied. And I'm trying to point out situations that may be interpreted as being bullied, but I was only requesting to follow the rules and regulations.
Because I've
But
been there.
when the trees are going to be cut down, it's not the board of directors that go out and say, we're going to do this tree, that tree, and the other tree. The people from the tree company come out and they assess the trees and they tell you which trees have to be cut down and everything. There's other people that have people living with them more than 90 days and they don't belong here. And how do you handle that?
Out of order.
I'm just pointing out situations that cause frustrations and people getting upset and saying they're being bullied. When in fact, I think it's just the board trying to enforce the rules and regulations. Thank you.
Hi, Brenda McCall, 34 Kennedy Drive. I've been a resident here for 8 years. I've been, letting kind of everything go. I'm offended by that last statement. We have people in this community on the operations, on everything that work very hard walking this park and now being accused of people not getting driveways done or people not getting trees done or things to that nature is, unless you have factual proof, I would like then that put out here, because to make blanket statements and discredit people is so unfair. And when you're talking about bringing a community together, you're really not getting off on the best foot, in my opinion. So again, I'm asking you to please provide the board of directors after this meeting with the proof that you have for the statements that you've made. After the meeting. You don't have to do it publicly if you're not comfortable backing up your statements publicly. I understand that. But if you could please back them up to the board of directors after this meeting, it would be appropriate. Thank you.
People are telling me not to say this, but I have to say one thing. My driveway is proof. I was taken off the list of 1 to 5s, and then when the guys were in my driveway to seal coat it, Brenda came to my house and was yelling at me from the sidewalk, and then she told the guys that they were not going to seal my effing driveway and sent them off.
So wait a minute, when you came out, when they showed up there, didn't you tell them you didn't want it seal coated, you wanted it repaired first?
No.
Because there was a crack going through with grass coming up?
Nope.
Okay. So it becomes, she said.
If you have a complaint about your driveway, bring it to the board.
This isn't a question and answer. This is an attack defend. This is not a question and answer for a candidates night informative session. And we don't have an impartial, moderator to stop it and just keep it on track for a question and an answer. A question and an answer. That's not what's happening. That's not what's happening.
Look, there's nobody coming up here. I have one more person that I know
No,
of.
but there was a person who asked a question and a question and a question, personal questions about Amy, which isn't fair.
Amy
And then the
made
president
a
of the
comment
board.
about her driveway not getting done.
No, the president of the board of directors got up and made a speech.
No, Brenda McCall from 34 Kennedy Drive as a resident got up
Made
and
it
asked.
as a president.
No, I
She
didn't.
did
I
not.
specifically
She
said,
addressed herself.
I'm up here as a
That's how it's
resident.
supposed to be run. We need an election committee that knows the rules, that can run an election, debate, not chosen by the board.
This is not an election committee, this is an appointed
By the
election committee.
president of the board. It's just not what you're doing. What you're doing isn't fair.
Now, you're doing exactly what you're accusing somebody else of doing. This board is appointed by, this committee rather, is appointed by the board. If I'm not mistaken, and I do not know the details, I believe one person was approached, and that one person went and picked or asked other people to volunteer. And this is exactly why people don't volunteer for boards, for committees. Because people want to rip them apart. We have one committee member that said, if I had known this, I would have volunteered at all. So if you're going to start with accusations, you have to accept them coming back at you. Go ahead.
I was being accused. She told me to come up with proof. So I came up with proof because I lived it. That's all. I'm not accusing, that's what happened.
Okay, some of the driveways did not get seal coated because they're gonna be replaced. This is my understanding as a resident.
That's not what she said.
There's no sense in seal coating it if it's gonna be replaced a year later.
She said it was not.
The same thing in the parking lot and the roads in the community. They could not be seal coated when the new roads were put down. It has to cure for at least 1 year. The committee, the board spent money to have this lot lined. We're gonna have to do it again. But that's just the way things go. If people don't come to the meetings, they don't watch them on TV. I'm gonna say it, I'm not on Facebook, you'll never see me on Facebook. And that's the reason why, because people that are this tall become giants when they don't have to be confronted. Any other questions?
My name is Eugenia Mendo. I've been here about 7 years. And I've seen a lot of things. And my question is, what I want in this park is people to get together and do things together. I want help, the people who need help in their yards. I think people should get that I think we all should have it a couple of times a year, this cleanup in our yards. It should be included in that budget. And what I want to know from you guys is what you guys, Amy and Linda, what you guys plan to do to bring the people together to work together. To help, to help the people and the things that they may need help with.
I would like to.
I'm gonna ask Brenda to ask her. Okay.
There used to be an organization in here called Helping Hands. They have been pushed out. Most of us want to help other people, but we don't know who needs help because they're hiding in their homes. I would love to go mow somebody's lawn if they broke their leg. I think by modeling that behavior, it would bring it out in other people. And we would join committees and we would get this social aspect of this park back where it used to be.
Well, I would probably do the same as Amy initially, is get Helping Hands more out in the public eye in the community so that people would know they're there and can ask for help. And also perhaps see if there's other people who I would ask other people if they have ideas for how they might help in their neighborhoods. I've heard some communities have street captains. Perhaps we would have street captains who would be aware of people's situations on their streets and could either contact Helping Hands for help or form another sort of roaming help team. I'm not sure, you know, I would have to probably brainstorm with people on that, you know, in the different communities, neighborhoods.
You know, I am part of Helping Hands, and we do help a lot of people, and I know that we're not supposed to be, I'm not gonna get into that, I have been into that before, but Helping Hands does do a lot for people, whether they come down here or not, I'm not even gonna get there, but, I feel that we don't have that in this park. People don't have compassion for one another. I do a lot of walking in this park, and I've talked to a lot of different people, and they talk to me, and I talk and say hi to everybody. I don't discriminate against anybody. Brenda and Mary and this park, this board that's been here, have done an excellent job with this stuff here. But what I want is more for the people themselves now. And I think sometimes change helps that, whether it's you guys or somebody else that may come in, maybe Brenda can do it, I don't know. But so far, I don't see that with the people, towards the people. I see road improvements, and the roads look nice, the trees it looks nice, and to me, I know I've talked to Brenda, I'm a tree person, and I like my trees. I like trees in the park, that's why I moved here. Okay, so that part, so those things to me don't matter to me whether it's done here or not, to be honest with you. Maybe if it fell on my house, it would have been. This is not what we're talking about tonight, not really, okay? This is who can do the better job. That's gonna be coming up. So, Brenda, are you gonna be able to do some of those things that I feel, that's what I want? I don't know if anybody else does, I've heard people say they want it.
So,
Oh, because I'm old. Okay, I get what you're saying, and yes, there are people that need help throughout the community. There are some people that don't want to be on any committee. They just want to take their time when they have it and help. If there's something going on down here, if there's something, then they want to give an hour or two and they want to help. I think that's what we've started to do. People don't want to commit, I think, since COVID. So we just try to say, this is what's happening, and if people can come out and help for an hour or two, things will get done. Washington Park, for instance. You know, when that area beside the mail shed first got cleared with the trees, that upset some people. I think you were one of them.
I'm upset.
But it was, no, I get it. But it was vines, and it was weeds, and it was poison, it was a lot. So the community cleaned it up and put wood chips, and I think it looks a lot better.
It does.
What we're looking for now is that area, that Washington, to maintain that area. And nobody wants to come out and, you know, every time somebody goes to the mail shed, I've said this before, Mary and I went and posted the minutes the other day, and I started to pull, Kathleen came over, literally it took 5 minutes for both of us to get all of the palms and most of the stuff out of that. So if areas like that, the big chunk of the work is done by the board, by the operations committee, then the neighborhoods that surround those areas can maintain it. As far as people going to other people's homes twice a year, and there's 280 houses in here. To have people go and clean as a group and clean up other people's yards, I don't necessarily know if something like that is doable. And as far as coming out, you know, I mow my neighbor's lawn because he can't do it. And I'm gonna tell you what happens to me while I'm mowing the lawn. People stop because I'm the president, and they say, are you gonna come to my yard? Why are you doing that person's yard? Because apparently, just like here, I can't have a voice as a resident and a member. no matter what I do, it's done with this title. And that's not always the way it is. I mean, people that need help, and you're on Helping Hands, so I'm sure you can attest to this. They don't always want people to know they need help.
That's right, but they should be able to come to the board privately and maybe speak to somebody privately.
And they have. And we have done things for people. You know, even with people getting letters about this needing to be done and that being done, all anybody has to do is reach out to either the management company that sent the letter or somebody on the board and just say, look, this is the problem. This is why I can't get out and do X, Y, or Z. Is there any way that we can get some help? And there are ways. And just because people see a yard not being maintained and this one, doesn't mean that they're not getting the same letters that everybody else is getting. So to say it's favoritism isn't, because the management company is the one that drives through here. The management company is the one that sends the letters. We don't do that because we're all neighbors of each other. So we try to avoid that type of a situation. We help follow up on things for them, but we don't always initiate things. So there are people that, you know, just want to come and do a little bit. And there's a lot of people in here now that are still working. And because they're still working, they don't want to take their weekends and do community stuff. So it's hard to get people to come out. And I can do the same thing. I can say, I'm running for president, and I'm going to bring back all the committees, and I'm going to bring back all the volunteers, and I'm going to get all these people. Why aren't they here now?
Well, for one thing, I think that a lot of people that are here are too old to volunteer. And I personally don't want to volunteer, not for that kind of stuff. I think I should hire a maintenance crew that comes in.
But if you hire a maintenance crew, I'm going to tell you right now, if we hire a maintenance crew, we pay a maintenance crew, you will not get one person that lives in this park to do anything for free, to volunteer. Because
That's
why?
what the maintenance people are for.
But what are they going to do? Maintenance people are not going to do individual homework. They're not going to work on your house, your lawn.
No, I know that.
Your
That's why
lot.
I said a couple of times a year to come through and clean up the brush, trim a little bit of the shrubbery stuff that they need. And the other times you're going to do it yourself. There are people who can't even do that part. And this is what I'm saying. If it came through and did it twice a year for everybody that lives in the park, that a cleanup thing. And then, you know, I feel that we can afford that. I don't know all the stuff. I wouldn't want to be on that board personally. And I think it's a hard job. But I just feel that we should have something like that in this park.
You know, I have said this before. We can have anything we want in this park. We can have a pool, and we can have all of those things. We can have our driveways plowed, and we can have our lawns mowed. We can have all of that, as long as the majority of everybody is willing to pay for it.
But we should have enough money now for maintenance. I feel we should have enough money in the budget for maintenance.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you, between now and the annual meeting, okay, to reach out to landscape companies. Find out how much they would charge to mow each lawn. Reach out to somebody that plows.
I'm not telling them about mow. I'm wanting to do the cleanup in the
Okay, so reach out to those companies and get the numbers. And find out what it would cost for a landscape company to come in and maintain 280 lots twice a year. Do like a spring and a fall cleanup.
Yeah.
And find out how much they would charge. And then we'll see how much of that we have to add to the budget. If it's, you know, 20, 30, 40, 50, $100,000, whatever it is, if it's incorporated enough in the budget and the majority of the membership vote on it, then guess what? It goes in the budget.
Okay.
Right. You know what I mean? If it doesn't, and I have said this over and over again, the membership decides, not the board. The board follows the approved budget. That's what we do. We follow the approved budget. That's what we do. We don't do anything. The membership decides. You've been at meetings, money gets moved around and changed.
Right.
We don't make the rules, we don't change the rules, that's all the residents. So we get accused of it all, but it's not. Anything you want, anything this community wants, that the majority of the membership approve, will get done. will get. Now, some of those things may be with a rent increase. It may come with a rent increase, and it may not. You may have to give up one thing to get something else. You may have to do a rent increase. You don't know. We only have so much money, just like your personal accounts. You only have so much coming in, so only so much can go out.
I think that's all I have to say right now.
Okay.
So, thank you guys. Thank you.
I'm the neighbor of the person in the garden. In fact, we had the same car for a while. When I first moved here, half the people waved, half the people said, I don't know you and I don't want to know you. So it's always been divided, and I've been here 14 years. I've been on Jefferson Way. And Brenda, I think you have done an excellent job of doing all of the work that has to be done around here. But the point that I'm feeling is that we don't need an argument if we ask a question. I am interested in what you have for the neighbors. I love that idea. Linda?
Me?
Yes, Linda. I love the idea of getting neighbors on the street to work together. Street captains, get people to work with. So I'm hoping that that is something that you can expel on, because I think it's a fantastic idea. And if you could tell us about your ideas and how that would work, be great. And because I know that Amy would love to be able to do that. So I know that we need to get the neighbors together. And the truth is, the problem that we had in the park is that everyone has friends in the park, and then eventually you're afraid to talk to anyone because you might be talking to the wrong person. Now, that's not the way to come in and feel comfortable with your neighbors. So I say hello to everybody. I love to say hello to everybody. I always used to walk around and smile. Everybody seemed to notice it. And Mary Getty did that too. I always remember them saying hello, and not everybody said hello. So, thank you.
Speaking as a resident, probably an elephant in the room, I think, but for Amy and Linda, you're running on the Kumbaya, bring everyone together. The comments that have appeared on that advocate page and the threads, which you two are both part of, are absolutely deplorable, in my opinion. The board is used to being attacked, but the attacks that have gone after the people who volunteered for the election committee is completely unjustified and not acceptable. So I don't know how you can bring the place together when you're watching the wanted attacks on people.
This is really unfortunate. I think that it's a reflection of how we are in our country today, with people perceiving a comment or criticism, perhaps, as an attack. And it just goes back and forth, back and forth. Everybody feels attacked. I have made comments on the advocates page. I think that, first of all, I looked in the binder that we get when we're residents to find out what are the election policies, so that I knew what to expect in terms of.
Are you talking directly to
No,
me or? Okay.
No, I'm having to look at Mary because I'm answering her comment. Anyway, I could not find a policy or a rule to how to establish an election committee and what the process of an election, what that process is. So that's why I had in my talk that I'd like to establish, with the community, I'd like to establish election policies, so that we all know what to expect. So my comments on the Facebook page wasn't an attack on any board members. It was on the fact that we don't have a policy and it seemed disorganized. And and this is not an attack on anybody, but it seems, it doesn't, from what I know about elections, which isn't a whole lot, but from what I know from the resident association that I helped to get going in Oregon, and also just reading about national elections, impartial people form an election committee. And the board, the people who are running don't get involved in that process. And it didn't seem that way to us. It didn't seem impartial. So that's what my comments were. It wasn't attacking anybody, insulting anybody. It was.
Unfortunately, that's the wrong policy that's been in place.
Where is it? Where is it?
It's a policy, it's written with all the policies, it's not, so again, if you weren't sure,
Not in the book.
it's not a rule.
Okay.
Can I just answer one thing, please? I disagree that it wasn't an attack. You people absolutely have attacked the integrity of members on that election committee. That, you know, attacks on us, I feel, are unwarranted as well, but particularly on them. The perception of some people is, for those of us on the board, is that we forfeit our rights as members. Like Gary was basically told, you know, you shouldn't be commenting because you're not up for re-election. Well, he's still a member. He has a right to comment on Facebook just like everybody else. The tone of your campaign, in my opinion, is not all sweetness and light. If they're looking how to dig, and jab away at people and be negative. That's just my opinion.
All right, we're getting a little out of hand with this personal stuff. We need to go back to questions and
That's the whole
answers.
basis of their campaign.
That's exactly what I was going to say. I think with all due respect to the election committee, I think we've gone a little bit astray. This is not how a typical candidates night in the past that I've attended has gone. When the advocates page first came out, I actually suggested that we might have a debate. I was kind of sorry I did after all the comments I got, but I think we're kind of going a little bit astray, and I think it would serve everybody if we just kind of reined it back into direct questions to candidates. We could go back and forth all night on all the different subjects, but personally, I think looking around this room with probably a handful of, there's probably a handful of people that I don't know who they're going to support in this election so far. I don't think they're changing a lot of minds by debating up here. So I just suggest we move it back to the original format.
Is there anyone else?
I know, it's a blessing. Nancy Ryan, 3 Presidents Way. The thing I want to get back to is the volunteering. I've had many years volunteering. There's a way to do it. When I came into the park, financially, I was broke. I had nothing. I couldn't afford to have my driveway plowed. I could not afford anything. Pat Henderson got in touch with me and paid for my driveway to be plowed. I couldn't afford to have my lawn cut. Pat Henderson called me, asking what she could do. I am only saying this because there is a need. I don't know, I'm not talking about cleanups twice a year, I'm not talking about stripping the budget. Every year I volunteer at the Council on Aging, and for like 14 years, we gave away 300 gifts. They went to the 3 nursing homes in Plymouth. That shut down because of COVID. I went to Pat Henderson every Christmas.
I give her 15 or 20 bags. I don't know who these people are, but I have heard from her, there are a lot of very destitute people in the park. She knows who they are. I have no clue. But I just really think this is important, really important, to look at the people that are living in this park, and there has to be a way. When people don't have money to put oil in their tank, I know a few people personally who cannot even afford to live here. So, I don't know. I don't know what the answer is. There has to be an answer. I just hope this will be something that somebody will look into. That's all I have to say.
Is there anyone else? Any questions? Well,
Can I say something?
okay.
I just want to talk about the trees. Everyone knows, I'm a big tree advocate, and I know not many people want to take trees down. A lot of people don't want to take trees down, but we had 2 big, huge tree falls in our yard. We lost a tremendous part of our home, 2 trees falling on a house. It was a really scary thing to be sitting in your house and hear kaboom, and hear a tree fall and then kaboom, second tree fell in a house. And so I'm a big advocate for trees. If you're coming down, I commend the board for all they've done to put them into the budget to get these trees removed. Then there was another storm after that, and guess what? We got hit again. 2 more trees came down, and it took every tree in its path, and it landed on our porch. We were very fortunate it didn't land on our home that time. But there are many people out in this community that that are at risk. So I will always advocate for those that are scared. They lay in bed at night, they hear the winds. I know that fear of being scared. So I advocate for all of you, that you guys that want your trees down, that we put that in the budget. And again, Brenda, I'm going to throw you under the bus again. Me and Brenda had an issue many years ago, but I never
it anymore.
you never discounted my need. Like when we had that happen, you reacted. You guys came out to my home, you looked at what happened, you knew it was a mess, and you took action. And regardless of what we've been through, and that's what we have to look at is we're gonna all have disagreements. We're gonna have things that we don't like about each other, but we have to work together as a community to get this done. So when my trees came down the first time, my insurance took care of that. The second time, I was like, oh God, if I put in a claim again, I might not have insurance, because you know how that goes. So the board came in and they took down all of my trees. But now I have a beautiful sunny yard. It's amazing. So I advocate.
Okay, just to clarify something, we came in and removed the trees that have already fallen and were split and damaged back there. We did not come in as a favor and take out all your trees.
No.
I just wanted to clarify